Hello, I'm the American Psycho Stephan Bonnar, along One Kick Nick Blumgren and Mr. Odds Matthew Holt, back here for the final round. And man, big weekend for the UFC, huge weekend, International Fight Week, finale tomorrow, the big card Saturday. There's some money to be made.
Money to be made, and I have a great announcement.
All right, well, first off, welcome back, Nick.
Well, you know, I heard that I was fired for a minute. I didn't know what was going on.
Yes, well, your replacement's undergoing some disciplinary action at the moment, so we're...
So Maurice Smith is being inducted to the Hall of Fame.
All right. He was
deservedly
one of the
so.
first UFC heavyweight champions, beat Mark Coleman for the title.
He was the first one that, you know, kicked those wrestlers right in the face.
Yeah. Stop the wrestling game. Yes.
I think the Coleman win,
He
the Coleman win was kind of the prolific first-time striker, won a big, huge fight like that.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
It finally said, oh, wow.
Well, they're having a big party for it tonight, so I'm going to go check it out.
Invincible. Cool.
I think it's called the Park Theater.
Yeah, it's a good look.
So
It's
the
a good
UFC's
class.
having like a little ceremony?
Tonight at 7 o'clock, Park Theater.
When did they start doing this?
Yeah, I don't know if they gave you an invitation, but I'll invite you.
We didn't have a ceremony. Oh, well.
It's a good class. I think we all miss Joe. I mean, Joe was probably one of the greatest matchmakers ever, so it's good that they're enshrining him. And I thought everybody else besides Joe Silva tonight was somewhat of a pioneer in what they did. Uriah Faber, whether you liked him or not, I always remember his fight with Jens Pulver in WEC, and that was the first time I had watched really little guys fight that I remember saying, I can't miss this fight.
I remember Alvey Alcaraz fighting
Jens
Pulver to a draw.
Yeah.
But Pulver versus Uriah Faber was really anticipated at the time. You know, they had, UFC didn't have a 145-pound class, and
Jens fought good that night. He made it the distance.
Yeah.
So.
And when Alfie fought
I thought
him,
he was going to get.
you know, talking about
destroyed
weigh-ins.
by Faber. Yeah.
You talk about weigh-ins. You know, we had a 10-pound weight in Alfie's pants just so he'd make weight
Midget Mafia.
before they really got regulated, right?
Well, congrats to Maurice Smith. Man, the guy is 51. He just fought the other year. You know, he's probably 53 now, but yeah, his last fight when he was 51.
No, let's not give him that much credit. I think he's 55.
Yeah.
No, I think
You're
he's
probably
right. I
right.
think it's like 53.
I know his last fight,
was
when he was
51.
trained for that,
Yeah.
he was 51. It was a few years ago, so you could be right.
You go ahead and I'll
But
do a
he's
little research
awesome,
on
man. He's a true Iron Man. Never even broke a hand or a foot his whole career. He went pro in kickboxing, turned pro in kickboxing in 83.
Wow.
83. Oh, man.
I was alive.
Stud. Yeah, I was in kindergarten.
Yeah.
Jeez.
that. I just graduated the year before.
So, Matt, Ultimate Fighter finale tomorrow. Weigh-ins are today. The weigh-ins already happened. The biggest story from the weigh-in has to have been how awesome Gray Maynard looked.
He looked, I think the best comparison was Anthony Pettis the first time he dropped down to 145, how he looked. That is how Gray Maynard looked today.
Not healthy. And remember, your brain's suspended in water. The less water on your brain,
And you're on the downside of your career, you know. So
the less of a punch you could take. Your brain needs that. The big main event tomorrow night, the undefeated Justin Gaethje fights Michael Johnson. And Michael Johnson's actually favored in this fight, but Gaethje's undefeated. He's the World Series of Fighting champion. How's he the underdog?
One of the most prominent offshore books opened to this fight about 2 weeks ago now at Gaethje minus 240 and went all the way to Johnson minus 170. It has just been unbelievable how much sharp money came in on Michael Johnson right away. We went all the way to minus 165 on Johnson and stopped. Now that all the sharp money is stopped because there's no longer any value in betting Michael Johnson, what we're seeing is the public start to come in on Justin Gaethje, and I think we're actually back down to minus 160. But similar to Marlon Moraes and David Branch when they made their, comebacks to the UFC off WSOF, we're seeing that, public money come in on Gaethje because he really was the cult favorite kind of over there. The undefeated lightweight champion who, always had exciting fights.
Wow. Jeez, I like Michael Johnson this fight, but not at that price.
That's my problem too. The fact that you could have had Michael Johnson as an
Yes.
underdog makes
You don't
me
wanna
not want to
take-
lay
yes.
160.
Yeah.
But I think
It's
we
like-
would all admit there's a lot of advantages
Yeah,
in
the
this
pair
fight.
of shoes that were just half off. All of a sudden, the sale's over. You're not buying those shoes.
I mean, what is the best win that Justin Gaethje's ever had? A shot?
Louis
Melvin Guillard,
Palomino.
Louis Palomino, Melvin
Split
Guillard.
decision from Melvin Guillard.
Yeah, in a fight where Melvin was hitting him, at
Doing
will
all right.
till he faded.
Yeah.
Well, you kind of think, what are they thinking putting him in that tough,
I mean, Michael Johnson to me is almost a no-win. He's a
You-
guy who has wins over Tony Ferguson, Edson Barbosa, Dustin Poirier. He just fought Khabib. I mean, he's fought everyone.
He's fought everyone.
Fought Benel Dariush and lost a split decision, but could have won.
Nick, you don't like this matchup for a guy like Justin Gaethje, his first fight in the UFC.
Well, I think if the UFC was looking at it at a little bit more of a marketing standpoint, they got a guy they can build here, Justin Gaethje.
Well, but he was the champ somewhere else. So if you're the champ of an organization outside the UFC, it's really important that first fight in the UFC, you get the crap beat out of you. That makes this UFC look better, and that's what it's all about.
Is that what it is? Oh, okay. I was thinking, well, this guy's got a following. He could follow right over to the UFC, build this guy up, make a
Yes.
superstar out of him. No,
Yeah.
that's not their thinking. They want
Remember,
you to know.
it's like-
They want you to know who the boss
Yeah.
is,
All of
who the
Pride
king
guys,
is.
once they came to the UFC, they wanted to get them the worst matchups possible.
Right.
And look, Michael Johnson's been beatable, but he's lost 11 times. But 7 of his 11 losses have come by submission to grapplers, and he's never been knocked out in his entire career. And you're bringing in a defensive wrestler puncher, and Justin Gaethje. This is
not too
This is a
heavy-handed.
perfect fit for Michael Johnson.
Yeah.
He wants to keep the fight standing too, and he's the more accurate puncher here.
Right.
One of my personal bets on this card, I took Brad Tavares against Theodoro. I like him in this matchup. I think Theodoro's wrestling's not good enough to get Tavares down, and standing up, Tavares knocks the crap out of him.
Yeah, this has been our biggest mover, and here's another reason why I'm not going. The only reason I'm not going to bet Brad Tavares is yesterday, not a week ago or 2 weeks ago. Yesterday, I could have had plus 140 on Brad Tavares, and today,
moved
if
that
I bet
much
it
since
now,
yesterday?
I'm going to have to
No.
lay minus 105. And I don't want to lay minus 105 on a guy I could have had plus 140 on. To me, the fight was actually a pick'em. I wanted to bet Brad Tavares, but I went through and looked at it all. And look, his last 7 wins in the UFC, he's known as a banger, Brad Tavares, right? He's a striker.
Yeah,
But
great
his
low
last
kicks,
7
too.
wins are all by decision. He's 2-3 in his last 5 fights. Admittedly, the losses are to Yoel Romero, Robert Whittaker, and Tim Bosch, so nothing wrong with any of the losses. But I think the UFC's trying to push Theodoro. Look, they gave him a push originally. He lost that fight to Thiago Santos by decision. But then he bounced back and beat Sam Alvey, kicked the crap out of Cesar Ferreira.
He wins. He does win.
Don't you think this is the classic grappler-striker matchup where if Elias Theodoro gets on top of him with that heavy top game he has, he's going to win the fight, where if it stays standing, Brad Tavares is going to outstrike him.
Yeah, Tavares wins.
Yes.
And that's what it comes down to, how good is Theodoro's wrestling.
Yeah, can he take
I mean,
down Brad
Romero
Tavares?
is able to take down Tavares, but Theodoro is an Olympic silver medalist.
Yeah, he's not Yoel Romero.
Oh.
Derek Brunson was also able to take down Tavares, but again, I don't know that he's Derek Brunson either.
I would agree with you there.
I mean, all his losses are to ranked guys. Theodoro's not there yet. But again, if I could have got plus 140, I'd be all plus anything. I think I would have taken Tavares, but I missed the boat, and because I missed the boat, I'm going to have to pass.
Well, I missed the boat, but
That was interesting because if he's backing out, I'm out.
damn. Well, like
But I do like Theodoro on this one.
His top game is really strong. I mean, he has to get takedowns to win, but his top game
Yeah,
is really good.
yeah.
Sam Alvey's a big puncher, too. A bigger, not as clean, technical, athletic as Tavares as a striker, but he's a big puncher. Theodoro took him down at will and won the fight.
That's a good point. Moving on, Ed Herman, CB Dalloway. This one has underdog written all over it. Ed Herman, 2-1 dog in this fight. And let me check my CG Sports app. Yep, Ed Herman's on here at plus 170.
And this one I did bet, will bet, love this bet. Ed Herman is my favorite underdog of this card. CB Dalloway, for some reason, continues to get more respect in the odds and from bettors and odds makers than he actually performs. You know, he's lost 3 straight fights. He's coming off the biggest layoff, I think, of his professional career and 3 straight losses. Got knocked out by Nate Marquardt in his last. And when we look on the other side at Ed Herman, we have a consistent grinder who always beats the guys who are either ranked or not ranked, you know, just barely ranked or not ranked, and loses to the top guys. His 4 losses since 2012 are Nikita Krylov, Derek Brunson, Tale Slates, and Jacare Souza. That's a pretty strong middleweight group, whereas he beats the guys he's supposed to, including Rafael Natal, Tim Bosch, who beats a lot of middleweights. You know, Ed Herman wins these kind of fights and then loses the step-up fight after.
I like him in this fight. If you log on right now, you can still get him at plus 170. I took him at plus 170. They have similar styles. If it were a pick 'em, I think I'd like Herman. But at that plus 170, man, I can't pass it up. That's a hell of a deal, and it's not too late to get it.
CB Dalloway's last win is in May of 2014 versus Francis Carmont, who hasn't even been in the UFC for 2 years.
And he's coming off the shelf.
Yeah.
Been on the shelf.
Coming off the shelf, and we talk about sometimes coming off those big knockout losses can change the way you fight. He's coming off the shelf, and he's coming off a huge KO loss to a guy he was supposed to beat in Nate the Great.
Yeah, I like Ed Herman on this one. CB Dalloway, to me, seems to have, when I watched him fight a few times before, it seems like he has a little problem with his chin, you know?
Yeah, I think Ed's got a little more left in the tank at this phase of their careers.
I mean, they're both journeymen.
Yeah.
But I do like Ed a little bit better in this
and
one.
I like it if the going gets tough, I like Herman in dogfight.
Yeah, I do too.
The only other fight on this card that I really care to touch, to be honest with you, is getting Gray Maynard against at plus 220 against Ishihara. Even though he looked emancipated today at weigh-ins, those weigh-ins were at 10 a.m. Yeah. And Ishihara doesn't knock he doesn't knock people out. He's not dangerous, and he's not going to out-wrestle Gray Maynard. How does Ishihara beat Gray Maynard, and why shouldn't I take him at plus 220?
I don't completely disagree. I originally looked at this. The one thing I did look at in this fight, for what you just said, look, it's probably not going to be a knockout, was the total. And I was going through this fight, and there were a lot of totals I did like on this card, and most of the totals were 2.5. This is one of the rare 1.5 totals on this fight, and I thought, boy, I don't see a scenario where this fight doesn't get halfway through the fight. It doesn't seem like a quick knockout. Neither guy's a one-punch striker. Neither guy...
Gray used to be, but we haven't seen that out of him lately.
I don't see it. I know Gray's chin has let him down a little bit over the last couple of years, but I thought over 1.5 rounds seemed like the safer play to me in this spot.
And what's the odds on that?
It's over minus 145.
Minus 145. Man, that plus 220 just sounds too good to me to pass up.
Yeah, I'm not laying it. I'm in no hurry to lay it against Gray, but with the way he looked at weigh-ins and his recent performances...
Yeah, he hasn't looked great as of late.
Yeah, I just don't know that he can win. But I do see him sticking around for a couple of rounds anyway.
What's his name?
Ishihara.
Ishihara. I've never seen him
He's
fight.
a Japanese guy who his wins come by decision. Japanese guy, kind of well-rounded, but I mean not super physically strong. Which if you're gonna out-wrestle Gray, you got to be stronger than him. And he isn't.
You think maybe Gray is thinking, okay, Japanese guy, let me out-wrestle him.
Exactly. Let me get a win. Let me hold on to my job. Like really, if he loses Ishihara, I say he probably gets cut.
Yeah.
And if it's for his job, he's gonna fight smart. That's one of the reasons I like him as well.
Yeah, that's a big plus.
You know, there's another fight on this card I looked at. It's a total, too, that, it's moved a lot, but I still think there could be some value in it. The over 2.5 rounds in Tisha Torres versus Juliana Lima And I bet it yesterday, and it was over minus 280, and I think it was up to 380 today. But Tisha Torres is 8-1 in her career, all 8 wins by decision. Her only loss by decision. Juliana Lima, 9-3 in her career, 7 of her 9 wins by decision, all 3 losses by decision.
So it's the smart bet, but if you
but you got to lay
$100
$100
bucks to make 30.
Yeah,
pretty much.
at this point, yeah. The
So-
line has moved too much, but that feels like probably the safest play.
Safe,
If you're looking
yeah.
for a parlay builder, you want to build a parlay, you want to add in a favorite that seems safe, that's probably the
Or
one.
if you're just filthy rich and you don't mind laying 3 times your risks down to make money, I personally don't like those bets. What about the main event, Jesse Taylor, Diego Lima?
Well, isn't the main event's going to be just Gaethje and
Oh,
Johnson?
the tough finale, the winner of the redemption season, the Ultimate Fighter, Jesse Taylor, Diego Lima, not Douglas Lima, and Jesse Taylor right now 2-1 favorite.
I was really surprised when I went through Jesse Taylor's resume because he's been out of the UFC so long. In fact, I wrote it down here. His last official UFC fight was in July 19th, 2008, Jesse Taylor, when he lost to CB Dollaway. So 9 years ago, lost to CB Dollaway in the UFC. But despite the fact that he hasn't been in the UFC all that time, he's fought Kendall Grove, Luke Rockhold, Hector Lombard, Talis Latas, David Branch. He's actually fought a lot of really top-level middleweights. So kudos to Jesse Taylor for being able to fight that level of competition, despite the fact that he wasn't in the UFC. So his level of competition for a guy not in the UFC was a lot higher than I thought. And look, 45 professional fights, if you include his tough fights, 50 fights really for the guy. He's seen a lot of stuff in there at only 33 years old.
His Achilles heel seems to be the submission holds, and you don't think Diego Lima is the kind of guy that is going to catch Jesse Taylor on the
Diego
ground.
Lima looks like he has that submission body. Tall,
Yeah,
long,
yes.
and he does
but
have
if you look through his record,
that. You just don't see the submissions there over guys. The one Achilles heel Diego Lima has had is big puncher.
Wrestler. Oh.
No, punching power. All 4
Like
of his losses in the
like his tough
in the
finale
UFC
fight.
have been by knockouts.
He got
So,
KO'd.
I think in the UFC he's lost 4 times. They were all by knockout.
And Jesse Taylor's not a puncher.
No, he's not. He's a
So,
wrestler, a heavy top
You
game.
think this is a good underdog bet?
I don't know. I didn't know what to do with the fight. So Jesse Taylor's resume impressed me. How he's looked on the show is impressive. He seems to be totally motivated and focused coming into this thing. Diego Lima looks like he has that submission body that could take advantage of the holes in Jesse Taylor's game, to your point. All those submission losses that Jesse Taylor has. But I don't know. I don't want to lay 2-1 with Jesse Taylor because he can't punch, and that's Diego Lima's Achilles heel. I'm going to end up passing.
Nick?
I'm just not sure.
Yeah, I'm not touching this fight.
Do you think there's value in the under? So the under it's 2.5 rounds over minus 200. Both these guys get finished a lot. Lima's got knocked out in all 4 of his UFC losses. I mean, how many losses does Jesse Taylor have by submission? Like 11 or something?
Honestly, man, I'm just not a huge fan of the over. I barely ever pick it, and I did pick it to see Fitch go the over, which is almost the guarantee, and boom, it ends before the round.
Well, I was thinking the under here.
Round.
I was thinking the under because both guys' losses are usually by finish.
Yeah.
Taylor by submission and Lima by KO because they both have such a long history of getting finished at plus 170 on the under 2.5. Basically, under 2.5 means finish anytime. Because most fights don't get finished in the last minute or two.
Don't love it.
You
I don't
love it plus 170, the under?
I love Ed Herman at plus 170.
Yeah, I do too.
A little more.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking because you got 2 guys like this, and it's just a coin toss.
Yes. Yep. It could happen. So, for the fight night in review, my picks: Gray Maynard at plus 220, Ed Herman at plus 170. My underdogs. And just straight up little bet on Brad Tavares, just because I like him better. Personally, I'm betting with my heart a little. And I want to see Theodore get his ass kicked.
Yeah, well, I like Michael Johnson. I like Theodoro. And then I like Ed Herman, if I was going to parlay it.
No more parlay.
That's right. No parlays. I'm going to bet Ed Herman for sure. I already did. I'm probably going to bet it again. I bet the Tisha Torres, Juliana Lima over. I know it's a
At
big
minus
price to
280.
lay. Yeah, at minus 280. I just feel like
It's a guarantee.
their history says there's no way they don't go over. And I'm going to watch this Justin Gaethje, Michael Johnson fight close because we started to see the Gaethje money show up today. And he has a big fan following, and he was the most exciting guy. And he was the Arturo Gatti of World Series of Fighting. So if the Gaethje money shows up and I can get Johnson at 140 or better, I'll be on Michael Johnson as well.
I like it.
And Saturday, the biggest card of the year, UFC 213, International Fight Week. And there's a couple fights in here I like and I took. Never bury your lead, and I was able to get Amanda Nunes at slightly plus money, and I'll take that any day of the week.
That's great that you got her at plus because we're back up to plus 120.
105.
I mean, we're back up to minus 120 on Nunez now.
Wow.
Yeah.
I really like the over in this.
Yeah.
I really like the over in this one.
It's over right now is 2.5. 2.5 rounds. And am I reading that right? Minus 140?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a steal.
Think so? They can both flat out go, though. Nunez is probably the best
Yeah, but
puncher
they
we've
fought
ever
once
seen.
before.
Yeah,
They
their
did.
first
They
fight
did. You're
went
right.
the distance.
Yeah.
But
It's a
that fight
5-round
could have
fight.
got stopped. I mean,
the
she
third
was
round,
pounding her. First of all, Nunez was pounding her early, and then
That's-
Shevchenko was pounding Nunez late.
That's like another reason I really like Nunes in this fight. What happened in the first fight? And you're saying a lot of people bet Shevchenko because of what happened in the first fight.
Yeah, I mean, this fight got all the way down to her as a favorite. Now, of course, it switched back. We've seen a lot of sharp money come back in on Nunez, so she's taken that favorite reins back. But you're right. A lot of people think because Nunez faded in a 3-round fight that she's definitely going to fade in a 5-round fight. I personally think just the opposite. She trained the first time for a 3-round fight and beat that girl so bad the first 2 rounds.
You learn a lesson too when you gas yourself out to be like, okay, I need to learn when I
don't wanna
got someone
feel-
hurt to keep a little in reserve. And I think
don't want to feel that again.
she's the type that is going to learn a lesson from that.
Yeah.
Win or lose, I mean, you learn lessons. In
And
fights.
isn't the best indicator of what's going to happen in a fight when 2 people are fresh? You know, when you're both at your
exactly?
best.
And what happened the first time?
Nunez was all over her. She was not only the better striker, but she's the one that secured takedowns and was on top pounding her away. So,
Right.
yeah, I really like Nunez in this spot. I mean, I showed you my ticket last week. I'd already bet. I've already bet Nunez, and I may even bet her again.
I like her a lot in this fight.
I like that over.
I don't think it's bad. I mean, look, the
2.5,
first time they went
yeah.
3 rounds, they've both proven to be durable throughout their careers.
Right.
I mean, Shevchenko, not only did she survive the Nunez blitz those first 2 rounds, but what was it? Lima in that fight had her and it looked like it was going to submit her, and she ended up getting her in a submission instead. And she's proven to be pretty
Yeah,
tough.
they're both
Yeah,
durable.
she's gotten her ground game a lot better, huh?
Not a bad one. Not a bad one. The other fight I bet on this card, I like Whitaker at Romero. I think this is going to come down to a boxing match. I think Whitaker's strong enough that Romero won't be able to just take him down at will. Whitaker really impressed me with his physical strength against Jacare, who I know from personal experience is strong as hell. And if he could handle Jacare's strength, I think he could handle Romero's. And all he's got to do is make this a boxing match. People are saying, oh, Romero's so dangerous, those flying knees. Whitaker's not going to be shooting takedowns. He's not catching a flying knee.
That's true.
The one thing I had started to talk myself onto Whitaker. This is another one where I was like, man, I wish I could have got the better number on Whitaker. And then I watched that Joel Romero open workout today. And Joel Romero is older than me, and I felt like I had to go to the gym right away. I was so embarrassed.
The old Fedor's taught us you really can't bet a fight based on a person's physique.
That's
Yeah.
true.
And I like guys that built like Mitrione or Fedor, just don't have good bodies that kick ass. Yeah, Romero, great body, but how's he beat Whitaker when it comes down to it? Whitaker, I mean, he could probably be an underwear model himself.
There's a couple of things here. Number one, Whitaker's a small middleweight. He's small for 85, but he's amazingly fast, really athletic, the best pure boxer. And he's not just a boxer, he's a great all-around striker. We saw the head kick to Jacare. I think Whitaker has a lot of advantages. And the one thing that we always talk about that shined itself again in the Kevin Lee fight is fighters tend to take that jump between 22 and 25 after they have that, 12 to 15 fights.
And they hit that little growth spurt, too.
Yeah, and Whitaker's only 26, so he should be right smack dead in his prime. He's had enough fights now. He's proven himself against the best. He's only 26 years old. But there is that fast twitch muscle of Yoel Romero that is certainly scary.
Dangerous.
Yes.
I like Whitaker because Yolo, he's known to get tired in the late round.
He does gas.
Like if he can weather that storm.
Or is he fake gassing, against Tim Kennedy?
Yeah, and he changes speeds.
Yeah.
He did that, God.
I can't get
was
off
it
my
against
stool.
Brunson, too, where it looked like he was...
And then knocked him out.
He took a long time getting off that stool. That's where he got that extra rest.
Yeah, he got some extra win from that fight. And probably the biggest reason I like Whitaker is, just like with the Brunson fight, that left hand, his jab is probably the best in the division. He's got the reach advantage, and I think Yoel's not going to be able to stop the jab, and that'll just set up Whitaker's game and make it easier for him to defend takedowns.
The problem for me in this one, and I think I'm going to pass, but I'm with you. If I do bet the fight, I'm going to end up on Whitaker myself, is I haven't seen Yoel Romero against someone who's athletic and as technically fluent a striker as Robert Whitaker is. He's looked great against wrestlers. He looked great against Weidman. He looked good against Jacare. He hurt Jacare early. He looked good against Brunson, who's a wrestler at his core, although Brunson was winning that fight early. Tim Kennedy, another wrestler. Basically, you look at Yoel Romero's resume, and there's a lot of wrestlers on there that he beat, but we've never seen him against the fluent
so
striker.
then why not take Whitaker?
Yeah.
That's my argument.
Look, the price is actually right.
I'm taking Whitaker.
All right. Come on, Matt. Jump on
I'm
Whitaker.
on. I'm going to bet him, too. I'm going to bet him. I'm betting
on over.
Yeah. I'm betting him.
All right. The Whitakers have it. He's going to win this fight. Oh, my. Yeah, everyone's betting Whitaker. All right. So far, Nunes, Whitaker are my picks. But Jim Miller, Anthony Pettis. Honestly, I'm not touching this one. I could see Pettis land someone in something big, knocking Miller out, and I could see Miller out wrestling him. Miller has the more momentum as of late, and really...
Look, I bet Miller in this fight. Don't you think that he's looked a lot better since he got the medication for the Lyme disease?
Totally.
Yeah.
And you get him at a great price.
yeah?
You get him at a...
Yeah, he had Lyme disease. I mean, remember
Yeah, he had
Miller
Lyme
went through
when
like
he-
a 7-fight win streak, got all the way up to the number 1 contender fight against Benson Henderson, which he lost. And then he started struggling really bad. He got crushed by Cerrone, lost to like Diego Sanchez.
yeah.
And he didn't know what was going on. He was going to quit. He said it hurt to get out of bed. He had to go upstairs sideways. He finally found out he had Lyme disease, started treating it properly. And the difference is, look, he looked really good against Dustin Poirier. He chopped Poirier's legs down, and that was a really close fight against the guy who's number 8 in the lightweight division.
Yeah, now that you mention it, if you could get Miller at plus 200...
I bet him at plus 200 personally.
That's a hell of a price.
I don't think I love it if it was a pick 'em. I might even take Pettis, but at plus 200, I just thought there was too much value in Jim Miller, and I don't know what I'm getting in Anthony Pettis anymore. Oh, I lost 3 fights in a row at lightweight. Let me drop down to featherweight.
Yeah.
Oh, Max Holloway beat the living crap out of me and knocked me out at featherweight. Let me go back to lightweight. I remember Anthony Pettis, Showtime, jumping off the fences, submitting Benson. But that guy's long gone. 3 losses in a row at lightweight, drop down to featherweight, get destroyed and knocked out for the first time in your career. Now you're coming back up to lightweight. I don't know where his head's at. I certainly wouldn't lay it, and I already bet Jim Miller. I think the value's there. I may lose this bet, but the value seems like
Yeah,
it's
but
there.
I'm thinking like you're thinking right now. Go a little light on that, just for the purpose of it being 225.
It's a little high, yeah. It seems high.
Oh, you know what? I wasn't going to touch this one, but you
one
guys
was
talked me into it. I just laid it down.
What was it?
on my app,
195.
like
195.
that easy. Yeah, he's 2-1 underdog.
Yeah.
That's I definitely agree, and I see the value in that. And now I'm on the Jim Miller train. Travis Brown, Alexei Olenek and Travis Brown minus 200 favorite. But don't you think if he so much as slips and falls and Olenek gets on top of him, he could submit Travis Brown. This guy submitted Jeff Monson. I mean, the guy landed an Ezekiel choke in MMA. That's a choke where a gi choke. The Ezekiel choke with the gi landed in the UFC. So, I mean, at minus 200, no way am I touching this fight.
But, you know, in the other card, you mentioned how, hey, Gray Maynard fighting for his career, guys fighting for a career.
Travis Brown
has to be fighting for his career,
all
right?
right, but if this guy gets on top of him, no matter how bad he wants his career, he's not going to be able to get up off bottom.
And I'm not a big Travis Brown fan, so.
You saw what happened when Cain got on top. And this guy is no Cain Velasquez just in terms of wrestling, but his top game, I think, is.
Yeah. I think Travis could hurt him on the feet, though.
Yes, on the feet, he doesn't stand a chance. But this guy, almost all his fights, managed to find themselves on the ground at some point. He's just dangerous. That's all I got. He submitted Jeff Monson. Who submits Jeff Monson?
Yeah. I don't like this fight. I'm not going to jump on that one.
Yeah,
at
I'm
all.
probably going to stay away, too. I'm not a big Travis Brown fan. I think, you know, his relationship with Rousey, I'm not saying it hurt his fighting career, but he doesn't seem to have the same fire he used to pre-Rousey engagement.
Maybe that's why I don't like him.
As far as any other fight on this card, the undercard fights, me personally, I'm not touching any of them. Are there any values that really jump out at either of you guys?
I could tell you the one that we... Oh, go ahead, Nick.
No, I'm saying that the biggest value that sticks out to me here was the over in the Nunes fight, and the Whitaker fight. Those are like the two that I like. If I had to pick a third one, it'd be Jim Miller.
Are you talking the over in the Whitaker fight, or just
no? I'm talking about
just
the
taking
pick.
Whitaker.
Just taking Whitaker.
Yeah.
Our second biggest liability on this card to the book when I came here today was actually Jordan Maine. That fight opened much higher. Belal Muhammad, much higher odds than he is now. Jordan Maine has been one of the most popular underdogs all week, and maybe for good reason. Look, Belal, remember my name, Muhammad, who's only 2-2 in the UFC. And look, I was willing to forgive his short notice loss to Alan Joe Bain because it was short notice, but he got knocked out in the first round to Vicente Luque. And he's 2-2 in the UFC, and he hasn't lived up to the hype at all. And Jordan Maine's kind of that journeyman grinder. He's been in there with a lot of guys. That's right. And he's been in there with a ton of guys. You know, he knocked out Mike Pyle, and he's the kind of guy I could see giving Muhammad trouble, and a lot of people have been on Maine. I don't know that I love him. His recent form isn't his best, but he's still only 28 years old, has like 45 fights, and he's taller than Muhammad's, going to have a bigger reach. He's a good striker, pretty good everywhere, but not great. I could see him giving him problems. The biggest favorite they've been betting is actually Rob Font, and the under in that fight, I actually like the under in that fight. So Rob Font, 3-0, 3 wins in the UFC, all by knockout. His only loss in the UFC to John Lineker, and that line opened like 240, and it's all the way up over 300 now on Rob Font. He's been kind of the popular favorite this week. But if you look at Andrade, he has 25 wins. He's 25-1, 19 of those wins by knockout, 3 submissions, so he has like a 90% finish rate. And then Rob Font, 3-1, but all 3 wins in the UFC by knockout.
And it's at 2.5.
And under plus money. So basically, if this one doesn't go the distance, you're going to get plus money, and both guys have an over 80% finish rate. Andrade has a 90% finish rate. To me, I just think there's too much value. These guys are going to go in and bang. I'm going to take it at plus money. One of them goes down.
On the under.
Yeah, on the under.
See, these are the kind of bets that I just, my brain does not figure out. I don't know. I'm not touching it, but I definitely see your point.
Both punchers.
Yeah. You know, the over is favored so many times in these things. People assume in a 3-round fight, lightweights, you're going to go to decision, and you look at these guys' finish percentage, and you both have an 85 or 90% finish rate. Well, no, the odds should be that it's not going to go the distance because they never do. So I'm going to go ahead and take this one under. I think there's going to be some serious leather thrown in that fight with 2 huge punchers, and I'm going to take a shot at plus money that they don't get to the judges' scorecards.
Yeah, and at 2.5, you know?
Yeah.
That's Yeah, I think a fight like this would be 1.5.
And another one interesting, I thought that you could take the under at even money right now is Curtis Blades in that fight. I read an article the other day. They were comparing
Huge
punching
favorite,
power.
minus
Yeah, one of the
700.
biggest favorites we've seen in a long time. But they were comparing punching power in the UFC right now amongst heavyweights. And they actually said Francis Ngannou might be the hardest puncher in the UFC.
I believe that.
Yeah, he's huge. But they said the second biggest puncher, pure puncher in the UFC right now might be Curtis Blades, who all 7 of his wins come by KO. And we always say, hey, heavyweights have the most likelihood of ending early, and I get even money that thing ends in the first round. The guy's not a 7-1 favorite for no reason. He's supposed to knock him out in the first round. You're going to give me even money on a 7-1 shot that he does it? Yeah, okay.
That's a hell of a
Makes
bet.
a lot of sense to me.
Makes sense. Man, I might
if
have
it-
to take that one.
If it don't make dollars, it don't make sense.
I like
right?
that one. What do you like better, that under or the
Font.
or the Rob Font under?
Probably the heavyweights, and you're only getting 10 cents different because look at all of Blade's knockouts. Forget about 85.
Yeah,
All of his
all of
wins are by knockout, and these are heavyweights, basically.
Man, that's a good bet. You
Yeah.
sold me on that one. I thought I was
Well,
done betting, but I am not.
I like that one, don't you?
I do
Yeah.
now. Yeah. So I'm going to take that one. So in review, UFC 213, my personal picks that I really love and came up with that were my idea are Nunes, Whitaker, and honestly, that's it. The advice I took from Matt Nick this week is taking the under on Curtis Blades and taking the dog Jim Miller.
I'm liking the over on the Nunes fight. I'm liking that a lot. I like Whitaker, and if I have to pick a third one, it would be Jim Miller.
Going with the dog.
And I'm thinking about that heavyweight fight right now. I'm thinking about taking the under on that.
Yeah, I could see that one ending quick. I mean, it's minus 700. He's supposed to end it quick. I bet Amanda Nunes. I bet Robert Whitaker. I'm going to bet Robert Whitaker now. I actually bet Alistair Overeem, too. I like him in this one. I know they're 1-1, but Verdum's win came back in 2006. And I like Overeem's recent form. You know, Verdum's 39 now, and he looks like maybe he's on the downslope of the mountain. Overeem's looked pretty sharp. I like his recent performances better. So I bet Overeem, too. It's basically a pick at minus 130. I bet Jim Miller. And I'm going to bet both of those unders. I'm going to bet Font, Silva, DeAndre under, and Blades, and the other gentleman under. I can't even pronounce his name right.
Well, hopefully we do as good as we did last week, and we'll be counting some more money come Sunday.
And just remember, if it don't make dollars, it don't make sense, right?
Oh, we need a new slogan for the show.
There you go.
So good luck in making some money off the
We
fights.
pick 'em.
Yeah.
We pick them. That's why.
We pick them. From Matthew Holt, Nick Blomgren, I'm Stephan Bonnar. Thanks for tuning in to